Cooking oil is a mundane utility, an invisible staple in almost every kitchen. But in 1968, it became a mechanism for mass biological destruction. The crisis began in the northern Kyushu region of Japan. Local poultry farmers were the first to notice something was wrong, reporting that their birds were suddenly and inexplicably struggling to breathe. Within weeks, the anomaly escalated into a total agricultural collapse, leaving 400,000 birds dead. Then the symptoms crossed over to the human population. Thousands of patients arrived at hospitals, suffering from extreme fatigue, with persistent coughs, and unusual painful sores on their skin and eyes. The outbreak swelled rapidly, leaving 14,000 individuals suddenly incapacitated by an invisible agent. Investigators eventually traced the common denominator between the mass animal die-offs and the human illnesses to a single source: Kanemi brand rice bran oil. The source of the poisoning traced directly back to the sterile, highly mechanical interior of the Kanemi Company factory. To make raw rice bran oil palatable for consumers, it undergoes a process called deodorization. This requires maintaining the oil at extreme, sustained temperatures for long periods. This diagram illustrates how they achieved those temperatures. Highly toxic PCBs circulated inside a closed inner pipe as a thermal fluid, surrounded by pure rice oil. But a structural flaw developed. The metal casing eventually eroded, bleeding the toxic PCBs directly into the edible oil. Because the heating loop was completely encased, this chemical bleed was invisible. Factory workers monitoring the system from the outside saw nothing wrong. Ultimately, the mechanism driving this public health disaster was an undetected breakdown in fluid dynamics and deteriorating metal. From the factory floor, the heavily contaminated batch was packaged and shipped seamlessly onto the commercial market. This flowchart tracks the distribution. One major bulk shipment was immediately diverted to the agricultural sector, sold as a vital feed supplement for commercial poultry operations. A second route pushed the remaining supply out to regional grocery stores, where it was bottled directly for human consumption. The chemical leak left no physical trace. It didn't change the smell, it didn't change the taste, or the vibrant golden color, turning every bottle into an undetectable hazard. The sheer efficiency of the modern supply chain instantly distributed a single localized mechanical error into a massive multi-species poisoning event. In Japan, the death toll from the contaminated oil surpassed 500. For the survivors, the consequences crossed generations, with severe impacts on cognitive development observed in children exposed to the chemicals in utero. 11 years later, in 1979, an almost identical pipe leak contamination occurred in Taiwan. This second outbreak became known as Yushō disease. Despite the heavily documented devastation in Kyushu, global manufacturers utilizing PCB heating systems failed to preemptively audit or replace their infrastructure, allowing the exact same flaw to claim new victims. When industrial failures occur on this scale, they are rarely isolated flukes. They are predictable, systemic vulnerabilities compounded by corporate amnesia. In the immediate aftermath of the initial Japanese outbreak, scientists launched aggressive global animal testing to map the exact biological mechanisms of PCBs. The findings proved that even incredibly low levels of PCB exposure were highly lethal to fish and wildlife, and that the chemicals bioaccumulated disastrously across entire food webs. The intense scrutiny that followed finally pushed governments to heavily restrict the manufacture and use of PCBs worldwide. A modern regulatory shield ultimately paid for by the thousands of victims of one unseen, deteriorating pipe in Kyushu.